Morning, Tribal Jazzman Scholar. I want to relate a personal experience of what might be referred to as flow, where I felt that I was in a space of pure intuition and was completely in alignment with the moment that I was in. It's only happened to me a few times in my life that I can remember. The one that I wanted to relate was once during a jazz performance. I was playing piano and I was playing with a saxophone player who is one of the finest players that I've ever worked with. If not the finest improviser, and he was to my right, and to my left was a bass player, also one of the most fantastic bass players, recently on an album where he was nominated, with the piano player he was playing with was nominated for the Grammy for Best Instrumental Solo, so he's at that level of playing, and these are two musicians who I'd worked with a lot, and we were playing one night, and so the bass player's to my left playing the bottom, saxophone player's to my right playing the top, and I'm responsible, of course, for the chords. I'm the accompanist, and we're playing a song called Beautiful Love, and something happened where I felt as if I had been taken over, and every single note that came out of my hands, every frame of the chord, every way I shaped my fingers to play the chord was perfect, that I couldn't interfere with it in any way, I couldn't obstruct it, and I knew, and this was the fascinating part, aside from just the physical, emotional thing of I have nothing to do with this is coming out of me. The part that was so amazing was I knew that I could make no mistakes. I could do no wrong, as I think the way the saxophone player described it afterwards, because we debriefed it afterwards, and they, of course, had the same experience I had, and the sax player said, yeah, it's one of those rare moments when you feel that you can do no wrong, where everything is perfectly in alignment. And it was an exhilarating, could have been 2 or 3 minutes that it was going for. And I was completely in a state of flow where all my training and experience was allowing for pure intuitive expression to come through me. And it really didn't feel like it came from me. It felt like I was having to just remain relaxed, focused, and aware of everything I knew about music, but not to be thinking at all, and not to get too caught up in the fact that I was having the experience, because that was a distraction. So I just stayed with the moment, and it was a profound experience of intuition, and I can say that the only other times that I have something like that is when I'm speaking, and particularly when I'm sharing with a student what I feel to be what they need from me in that moment. And it comes from a deep place of concern, compassion, respect, and I use my verbal skills and my experiences in my mind and heart to listen and observe and direct and guide. I think that's what mentoring is. So the only other area where I feel quite confident that I have a similar level of both perhaps commitment and ability is in this mentoring relationship with students, where I'm able to give them the direction that comes from a deeply intuitive place. And then I want to say a couple of things to close out here. One is that this intuitive mind is a facility that we all have, and to me it feels as though it connects to a larger intelligence of perhaps the earth, or if you have beliefs in higher powers, it's an intelligence that is willing to express itself through us in creativity, in a creative moment, and it requires a faith that we are doing the right thing, and it requires a surrender to a talent, and it requires the training in the skill that's being deployed to deliver that, to communicate that, whether it's keys on the piano or voice and intellect and articulateness, whatever it is that's expressing it, personal life story coming into the mentoring with students. So it requires the training, and it requires the surrender and the faith, and sort of a number of qualities that we all might understand, but they all come together in that moment. And it's a very resonant, clear place. And last thing I want to share, and this is an uncomfortable part of this story, was that I shared that experience playing piano with a friend of mine many years ago who was a very successful psychotherapist, and he had been a Vietnam veteran who had been in combat many years earlier. And as he listened to my telling him of this story of playing the jazz, he said, oh yeah, he goes, I've had that experience. I had that experience in combat. And I thought, wow, that experience of being completely in alignment with every movement that you're making, every thought, every gesture, every intuition is a sense of I can do no wrong, and to think that that could be something someone would experience in a violent, combative experience like a war, a battle, made me realize that it may not have any qualitative orientation, that it may not necessarily be something that allows people to align with just good things. It may be just a quality of the energy of the earth that we can align with it in different circumstances, and it may not always be for the greater good. Although I'm making a judgment about his experience, whether what he was doing was for the greater good or not. He certainly seemed to understand what I was saying and had had a similar experience during his time in Vietnam. So, alas, I wanted to close this out by just offering that we have an intuitive mind that can connect to a larger intelligence that can, with training and surrender, allow us to be in a deep state of flow in our own expression. And I'm hoping that it is intended towards a more benevolent form of expression, and that it has a function of servicing the earth and the direction of humanity towards egalitarian, more news story kind of living. And with that, Tribal Jazzman Scholar will sign off. Thanks.